Hello and welcome. We weren't actually planning to do a video now. We were just quickly putting a friendly in just to test that tactic again that we were playing around with in the last video, and then I've realised that it just happened to be paired against the team that we lost our last training league match against. So and the one that we, they had a few good chances, and I think they played the 4-2-4? Yeah, 4-2-4, and it was a problem for us. So I thought, that match, so I thought it was a good one to sort of just see all these changes we've made. Whether it helped against this particular team, which we struggled with. I mean, we didn't struggle, we just struggled from the perspective that, we struggled to score, which we just did. And that whilst they didn't create a lot of chances, they did create three really, really good chances and scored two of them. We basically just struggled to deal with the fact that they had this two strikers and two attacking wingers with our defensive setup. This time though, in that match our DMC was injured. We didn't run a DMC, we ran an extra midfielder, so we actually only had three defenders versus all of that. So yeah, so it was a real problem. So yeah, we just thought this was a good test, just to see, if this would. Ultimately, it was kind of that match really that triggered this whole process of reviewing everything. I also thought another interesting video in light of. Yeah, totally different, right? It's basically, it's pretty much game over instead after 6 minutes. And last time it was a massive struggle. So, there's luck involved or whatever. Obviously, we could have had these same chances and maybe not scored. Maybe, although it does feel like that second goal was probably just a goal no matter what. But, similar chances. It is a game of fine margins, but like I was saying before with this tactic, I feel like there is a difference now that the chances that are being created are just a bit better quality overall, and that really helps a lot. We're avoiding those games where we do have 20 shots and only sort of score one goal because a lot of the quality isn't that high for a lot of the chances. So we're sort of, trying to go more towards that same match being maybe 14 shots or 13 shots, but have a whole bunch of high quality ones where we sort of definitely will get more than one goal. And then the other interesting thing is just, how much difference is that DMC going to help defend against their 4-2-4. But so far, it kind of, obviously we're winning 2-0. We've had at least one decent shot, that long shot, that was pretty decent. It was straight front on and it wasn't that long. And they haven't really created anything as far as I know. So it's certainly looking better so far. Oh yeah, we've created more than that. We're just dominating. Another great chance. So the chance quality is just much greater. And I think a big part of that is because we do pass the ball around a lot, and just offsetting that striker has just improved the spacing in particular of our creative forward and our striker. And they are typically the two most advanced players that are central. They are the two players that the chances are more likely to fall to. So just spreading them out a bit, it also allows, it isn't just them not getting in each other's way, it's also them being more spaced out to provide more options to the rest of our team as well. I think all in all it actually does a lot, and it's quite interesting that we're really struggling to get the central striker involved, and actually by offsetting him to the left, which in theory you're saying, well, he's less central, he's not going to score as much, but instead we're 32 minutes in and he has a hat-trick. So obviously that won't happen every game, but I'm just saying he's basically he's done more in this 30 minutes, really, than what he did. Well, yeah. Anyway, don't need to quantify that much more. It's been a long time since he scored a hat-trick. I don't know if he's ever come even, he has, I think, scored one or two, but not really when the creative forward is sitting right behind him like that. It's more been when we played other tactics without that. So, and again, this guy, he just obviously he missed that shot, but he's also more, he's not offset because he's more central, and the striker isn't right in front of him. He has sort of more space to drift and find like better shooting angles because it's like it's not clogged up. Because the thing is, if the striker's there, you're like, well, it doesn't matter if the striker is close to him, does it? And it's like, well, yeah, it kind of does, because if the striker is close to him, then it also means that whatever defender is marking that striker is also close to him, so he can't move there because the defender will also be there. And plus, also, you just obviously you want him to have an option to pass to, and you don't really want that option to be 1 yard away. So it kind of does a lot. Another great shot. That was, you didn't see it because of a bit of lag, but you could just infer that was a very, very central chance as well. So again, I think we got a pretty good flow. We actually had 11 shots, huge amounts of territory. We're just dominating basically, totally different match to the. We'll see what the second half plays out like, but this is just chalk and cheese basically. It's just worlds apart from the last time we played them. But I thought another maybe interesting exercise for content would be to almost because I think one of the problems we ended up with this formation over time was that as we are looking in the scouting pool, and as we are, looking even at our trialists, quite frankly, but as we're looking to improve the team, and as we are improving the team, we're obviously getting more different players, hopefully better players, but ultimately it isn't always. Another quick chance. It isn't always very rarely is a player that's outright better, like every single attribute is higher. Even if they're, I'll say objectively better, let's say, like most people would agree that this player is definitely better, it is still the case that the player is ultimately different. And it's going to adjust the whole balance of everything. And I think another problem that we've had, so that's part of it, but I think the bigger problem is just our... there's a good chance. So they did have one good chance this game now. I'm just got to keep track of that. I think there is an issue, though, that our bar for what we were looking for, as we get more players, we're becoming more picky, and our bar for what we're grading against is, this is just whatever happens here, it's dangerous regardless. Thanks to the score. So all of a sudden, it's like they didn't really do anything the whole game, and then they had two dangerous chances. And I think kind of the other game was a bit like that, to be honest. Like, they didn't do anything for huge portions of the game, but they did have a few dangerous chances. They had 3 in total and scored 2 of them. So it feels like if they're going to play the 4-2-4, we probably just got to give that up with our weak defense. Like, they are going to get a few good chances throughout the game. The trick ultimately, I think, is just they are going to get a few. They're probably going to score 1. They may score 2. And ultimately, the way you beat them is by scoring 3 or more, I think, which we've already done. So I think they just don't have a big enough chance flow to score 2 more goals. And, hopefully we'll nab 1 more anyway. So, anyway, so the bar, I think, has increased. And I think part of the thing is now, like, every single player that we've picked up in the past, as in basically, before the last day or two, have been graded against a different bar that was lower. And I think we're at a point now where, even though it hasn't been that much time, because there's been relatively rapid squad development over a short period of time, which is it's inevitable when you're starting to play, that's fine. But I think we're basically at a stage where we kind of need to, I don't know if need is the word, but it might be prudent to reassess the whole squad at this point and get just look at every player with fresh eyes, from no preconceptions, let's say, just imagining that this is our starting squad and trying to assess it through that lens. I'm going to play the 2 strikers up front at this point, I think. Try this deep lying forward and poacher combo. So, yeah, I think we should do that. Because I think we might end up with some players in here that we're just constantly using in some role or position or whatever, thinking that they're awesome or good or whatever, and actually when they're not really that good, you know. And I think when we're looking at players in the scouting pool, when we're looking and we're umming and ahhing over them, and we're like, yeah, they're okay, but they're kind of not that great, so we're going to pass, but they're alright or whatever. But then we compare them to what we got, and we're like, well, actually, they're kind of about the same as what we got. So they're not improvements, so we won't get them, but it's also the case that what we got is kind of like, whatever, right? It's not really that great for what we need. It's alright, but it's not great. And I feel like we may have quite a few players in that bucket, and I think it's just worth being aware of all of who they are, and, you know, just being aware effectively of maybe more about what our limitations for our squad are, and also areas for improvement, and maybe even end up changing the tactic a bit because of it. So I just feel like it's a good exercise to do. And I'm sure there's players that we're thinking are like really good at this point, and they're not that good, basically. Hopefully I'm not wrong. I'm not correct or whatever. I hope I'm wrong about this, and it's not as, I'm sure it's correct to some degree. Hopefully it's not a very significant degree. Alright, I think a Krieg can just come on. Yeah, so we'll just but even if it's only the case partially for one player, you know, it still will definitely be worth us being aware of that. But, you know, I think it's not even necessarily like, I'm sure we'll learn some few things, because I think part of it as well is just realising that, we are, you know, this guy is alright, and we thought he was alright, and we brought him to do this role or this job, but actually he could also do this instead. Like, he actually has the attributes to be this other role, possibly better or whatever. And I think just being aware of that, you know, is useful for us, because we're getting quite set in. We are trying to be aware of the fact that in the last video anyway, it's just now, I think this is all triggered because of this this change that we've made that's really helped, and hopefully, you know, arguably led to winning this match. But this change is just this improvement, and that basically stemmed from the fact that we looked properly at our players and just realised that, you know, they weren't that good. And to make the change to factor in their limitations. And I think maybe there's some other change that we could make to the tactic that would help us even a little bit more. I'm going to do that as a separate video. I think this video is at this stage it's a bit short for what we would normally do. We're never really doing them for 13 minutes. So it's a bit inconsistent. We typically do the matches in pairs. I might just play another match to maintain that, but I'm just going to click. We don't have any unregistered players. Oop, never been there before. Squad numbers. Okay, we've got quite a few spots left in the squad. Alright, cool. Anyway, I'm just going to. Alright, I suppose to keep it consistent, we'll just request another match. Just play one more match. Yeah, so I'm going to do this video about assessing the squad. I don't know if I'll have time now, but I guess it may not be the very next video, but it'll be tagged as such, so just look out for the video that says, like, reassessing the squad or something in the description to find the one, if you're interested in that. This Red Wyverns, sure. This is one of the benefits of the training league, actually, is you can learn quite a bit because you kind of end up playing the same teams over and over again. which is handy from, just progressing with the initial squad and stuff. Not that big a deal, just a little bit handy. I mean, in particular, we can check. We played them 3 times. We lost, we won, we drew. So, not the certainly not the easiest team that we played. So anyway, that is kind of a good sign if this tactic just works, I guess, more or less out the box, so to speak, against them as well. I mean, this is the other thing. At the moment when we're playing the friendly, we're kind of using injured players. We're using our full strength squad. And in a lot of these official matches, it's like, that's basically constantly not true, right? Like, we've had matches where, like, our first 3... I think we even had one match where our 3 first choice centre halves were all injured, and our DMC was injured as well. So obviously that's just not... You're just going to end up with some real challenges thrown at you to try and get a result. But anyway. So yeah, but again, it just feels like so... And that's a striker again. I mean, it just feels like he's just... yeah, feels good, I gotta say, this change. And I think I was saying before in one of the... I think I said it, but anyway, I'll just repeat it. Like, it was... We do have to bear in mind that even without this change, like, it was still the case that, we won like 8... We won 8 matches in a row and had something like that, and had clean sheets in all of them. Even with these problems, so it's like, are they really even problems? I'm not sure. Because with all these things, like, you fix one thing, you fix one problem, you create another problem. It's sort of typically the case, and you're just really trying to, I guess what you're trying to do is fix a problem that's slightly bigger than the new problem that you're creating. That's a slightly smaller one type of thing. So the question, I think, really at this point is, the problem that we fixed, was it a bigger problem than the one that we've created? And I think the one that we've created, which we've summarised in the recent video, but it was really that, we do create a little bit less chances on the whole. They are better quality. I think on the whole that's fine. I think that's just a plus. But I think the downside is potentially now that another upside is that the attacking play comes like quite a lot from the left and the right, but it also means that we surrender possession quite well distributed across through the middle, attack, left, right, everywhere. And it basically means that now, like, when we're defending, it's kind of like it isn't real. It really just coming there. We're defending everywhere now. It's not predominantly down one side. So we can't just stick all of our strongest defensive players on one side and get away with that and having a weaker defender on the other side. Now we need strong defenders everywhere. So that's one downside, basically, is that it means that we now, that to some degree, I guess you could say now our defense is only as strong as our weakest defender, something like that. Whereas before it was kind of like it was only as strong as our second weakest defender, something like that. But I feel like on the whole, like, that could be a problem in the short term because of personnel, but long term it's not really a problem because we'll just improve our defenders over time and we'll get the right ones. So we're really just trying to evolve this tactic at this point to improve the tactic and whatever, under the assumption that we will get to improve these players over time. Not all of these players. I think we have quite a few players, by the way, now that we're very much planning that those players will kind of be part of the team until their contract expiry season. I'm not too worried about that shot, by the way. It's possible something like that scores, but it's not high percentage at all. And we did have defender back, so even if it's parried there, there's a pretty high percentage chance that we end up clearing it first. Not 100% though, but it's high percent. So it's not like just because that's parried it means they were definitely getting a tap in. Anyway, so now they've created a proper dangerous chance and scored from it. And they've had 4 shots. We've had 4. So We'll just try. It's I think this is probably looking like an interesting match. Like, should pay more attention because we're clearly not dominating it. So we'll try and understand why. I think we're struggling. They're holding us up quite well. We're struggling to kind of get past them, I think, is the issue. And we're kind of in these positions where a lot of the time they're laying it back when you were happy for them to just try, you know. If they get tackled, they get tackled, but I forgot that I had this left. Right, okay, so I think we just don't want the tempo. This might be the issue. Alright, let's just change it to what, yeah, I need to remember to change this after the match. I accidentally had that left from a different tactic, so let's just change it to what it was. We changed it to this a few times, yeah. Not the best test. I think we do have to remember that in the previous match, you know, we had that set as well. Not a huge deal, by the way, but it just could be... These changes, I mean... They change things, but they're not necessarily a huge deal. Especially for our tactic. We were discussing in particular how the balanced tempo is still kind of faster than normal balanced, let's say, because of the creative forward role and because he's commanding the ball. So it's not a huge difference. As huge as what it otherwise might be. Well, I don't want to say huge, but like as significant as what it otherwise might be. But anyway, I think there is an issue about we're struggling to get it in behind their defenders anyway. That was basically where I'm going, so I'm not sure that anything we did back and forth really helped at all with that. Well, that's a decent attempt. Maybe the top we're happy to give up, but not a lot of. You would anyway. So let's just do what we were going to do. So change out back to fast. We're going to go direct, and we're just going to try and just hit it longer into space. And just hope that. I think another thing here is that you can see that even our super fast striker was beaten by the defenders. So it's like their defenders may not actually be. You know, they might be faster than the average defenders we're facing, let's say, so we don't have, you know, our striker that's just fast but not that great at other stuff. All of a sudden, you know, he's exposed a bit here because his strength isn't as much, you know, it's not as much of a strength anymore. This is an issue for him being offset, because when it does come through, it's likely to be wide, but as it turns out, it doesn't matter. And it's just a bit, I'll leave it, because I do think on the whole it's probably still alright, like, just because he drifts wide or whatever, it's not that big a deal, we can get... he can cross it in or whatever. And though that shot again, we're just happy to give that up. It's super low percentage. So I think at this point we might preemptively just make a tactical change because... I'm hoping to. The delay is a bit too big. We should catch it now. Yeah, I'm just going to preemptively take this guy off because I can already sort of see that things aren't that great. Now there's a question about, because we got this tactic, long ball, whatever. I'm just going to set him to target man. And just properly encourage it to get bombed up there, and hopefully might be time for the DMC to come off. It's an interesting one. I guess he's coming off for a right back. Interesting, because at the end of the day, we still are only 1 goal up, so we could totally not win this. Yeah, in the end, this would just turn out to be a match where, if we do end up winning this, it's only really because of tactical changes, I think. So we do need to bear in mind that basically that there isn't really a tactic that just simply beats everything without ever having to make changes during the match, I think is probably a very important thing to take away here. Yeah, no DMC, a huge space. They just, I mean, you basically, we're giving that up, so to speak. Like, they're going to have all the long shots they want from there, pretty much. Yeah. This guy's also 1 yellow card away from a red card. We should have picked up on that way faster, by the way. So he ain't tackled anything for ages, so that has been there for some time. That's a warning after the yellow. So he's basically not 100% a tackle away from a red card, but like pretty close. It's a good chance he does if it happens. I think we just change. All we can really do is change him to defender instead of stopper, so we're not encouraging him to just rush out and tackle first. The other thing that we could do to help him a bit is to change the defender next to him to be stopper. If we did that, then that would also help, but I don't think we can, because we want that one to be, in particular, the one in the middle we definitely want to be cover, because of how the tactic works. So I think on the whole it's just better to run the risk the guy will get sent off than run the risk that the ball could just go straight over everybody and they score, especially when it's late in the match. The later in the match, the less of a deal it is to get a red card, and the bigger the deal it is to concede a goal. So if it was early in the match, and this was the case, then the opposite would be true. I would want to put the central guy to not be covered to be stopper, and instead run the risk that a ball will go over the top and they'll score, but to reduce the chances that my guy will get a red card. So you've just got to bear that in mind, right? Red cards don't really matter when there's 2 minutes left. I mean, it matters obviously because then we'll miss the next match and whatever, but in the context of the actual result, it doesn't matter. But it really matters a lot if you're winning by a goal, or there's, it's a very close match within a goal and you concede a goal. Like, that's a huge deal. So, alright, well, we did win. I feel like it was because of tactical changes, but that's fine. We need to do that sometimes, because, I mean, that's the reality anyway. When you get to a more competitive league, that's almost every match is that, if you are, that's useful. We'll cut this video off. We'll do an initial squad assessment. I might just pour into that right now. So, cool. Thanks for watching.